Alright, so I'm Annie, this is Noel. We've got 19th century American. First, that was the second half of that. Alright, so to start us off, we've got shingle style. Shingle style is really cool. Its history was most common between 1800 and 1900. It is of American origin, and it was impacted by Queen Anne and Romanesque design, which we will go over here in the next couple houses. It was known a lot for the freedom of the design, because a lot of the houses were custom created. Like, the people would say, oh, I want to have this, and this, and this. And it was a certain sort of style, but people would sort of do, like individual houses. And they never became very popular because the houses tended to be very big. And in that time, big houses cost more money, and people didn't really have a ton of money to spend. Some characteristics of the walls. It's called the shingle style. You can see the shingled walls and roofs over here. Basically, the entire side and roof of the house is shingled. It's supposed to look super big and interesting. You can see a ton of, different features that you can, see. The outside is super interesting with the windows and the different the big porches. And it's known for being very large horizontally. It's supposed to just look very interesting on the outside. Today, you would find this house basically all over the U.S., but more commonly on the East Coast, and more specifically in the Cape Cod areas where it's most commonly found. What I like most and least, I really like the big porches. That's something that I've always really been attracted to when it comes to houses, and the exterior looking really intricate with the windows. And I like the houses being more horizontal than vertical. I just feel like it's more of an open layout and it's more space. And for the things that I don't like, the asymmetrical roofs aren't my favorite, and the overall asymmetrical design, I just prefer things to be a bit more symmetrical. And also the freedom of the design, I prefer designs that are more set. Alright, so now we've got Romanesque architecture. For the history, it was popular in about 1050, as it was the start of Gothic architecture, and it originated in England. The reason that it originated in England was because in this time they were having lots of priests and monks and needed bigger structures to accommodate everyone, and these could be built ginormous. They could house so many people in the different rooms. Some characteristics, you can see the semicircle arches everywhere. You can see it up here, over the doors, windows. It's basically everywhere. That's super big for that time. You've got the piers and you've got really big walls also, since it's just this super big structure. You don't have as many windows. It's more just doorways to the outside. And it had different sizes of towers. You could either have big towers or small towers in the houses. Where would you find this today? Today it would mostly be found in northern Italy, parts of France, and the Iberian Peninsula. It never really moved from those areas. So basically Europe and the Arabian Peninsula. What I like most and least is that I like that it's tall, because for that time they needed lots of space, which makes sense. I really like the semicircle architecture. I've just always been drawn to it. And the tall towers, I think, look really, really nice in this style. Things that I don't like, personally, I like when houses have lots of windows, so the lack of windows is something that I don't love. And the spires at the top of the towers aren't my favorite. They do look good with the style, but just not for me. Next, we've got the Queen Anne style. For this, in history, the peak of its popularity was about from 1880 to 1900. It was pretty much in there. It was named, popularized, and created in England. So it basically started off in England. And the ideas for the houses were based on Queen Anne's reign, who was the Queen of England at some point. And it has a lot of influence from a lot of different styles before this. It has influence from Romanesque, from Gothic, from so many different things, which is why there's so many things going on. Some characteristics of it are it's very eclectic, which that word means that it took style ideas from very different places, as I was speaking about before. And it's focused on contrast and asymmetry, and it's built in a wide range of materials. You can see, well, some houses could be done in wood, stone, different kinds of shingles. I mean, it was just kind of all over the place because of all those different impacting styles. The roofs were often very steep and complicated on different sides because of the asymmetry. They could have different spires on top. I mean, it was just super complicated. And they had lots of windows in these houses all over. And the windows were always embellished. So like you can see these windows are, like they're meant to look pretty. Like there's some bay windows over here. These windows have like a little arch over them. Like it's supposed to be a very intricate looking house. Where would you find this house today? It's basically in the U.S. and in England. And in the U.S., it's mainly on the East Coast, but basically all spread out. What I like most and least, I love all the detail and intricacies in the architecture, the windows, the complicated and steep roofs. I think gives the house a really, really nice look. What I don't like is when the houses tend to have the different shaped and sized towers, it tends to look really busy and that it doesn't really go together. And because of all the influence from different places, it can tend to be a little too much, which I don't love. Finally, we've got brownstone. Brownstone was really cool. It started as a material, so like the brownstone brick, and then it turned into a house since houses were really commonly made with that material. And it was popular around the 1800s, and it originated in 16th century Europe. And there were just like, the brownstone has like two sort of styles. It has the Eastern townhouse and the brick row house. Over here you can see the Eastern townhouse, and here's the brick row house. Yeah, they're just a little bit different based on just the Eastern townhouse is a bit more intricate on the outside than the brick row house. For the characteristics, it's made out of the brown-colored sandstone, those kinds, which is where it gets its name. The material creates nearly seamless lines when you put the two houses together, and it looks really pretty from the outside. And something that's kind of weird is that not all brownstones are made of brownstone, because the brick originally created a sort of a house that was made in that style, and that style later moved on to be made by different materials. So now we just refer to it mostly as this sort of style that's close, it's vertical, you've got the windows, close together. They also have very intricate chimneys on the inside, and they're very spacious on the inside. Outside, this isn't a great example. If I go back, they're super detailed. I'll go back for a second. Like on this one over here, you can see it's got a ton of different like railings, like so many embellishments. Then they're supposed to be super detailed on the outside. Where would you find this house today? So you'd find it all over Europe, basically, and in some parts of the United States, such as in New York. It is super, super common. In New York, you can drive around. I've been to New York, and I actually didn't know back then that this was a brownstone, but I saw them everywhere. I guess since New York is super populated and everyone has to live really close together, it's a good style of house over there, since it's close together and you actually get quite a bit of room since they're so tall. What I like most and least. I love the intricate old design on the outside of the house. I love how cool it looks. It's really pretty. And also the many windows. I feel like that gives a lot of natural light on the inside, which could work really well. And also, the fact that they're spacious on the inside while being so tight together is a really good thing. And the intricate chimneys are also really nice. The things that I don't like, personally for me, I'd rather have my own house that's more of a vertical layout. For things like New York, it works, but for me, I don't personally like how close together they are. and I'd rather they be more spread out and horizontal. Right, on to
what I picked was what I got was the Western row houses, the 19th century Western row / townhouse. So the Western row houses were built in the 1900s. They were first built in Georgian construction. It was built to cover like the street and blocks. Western townhouses were built from the 1800s. The first style was built in Kansas, Arizona. A real one was built in Tombstone, Arizona. The characteristics: Western row houses were closer together. They had pitched roofs, a lot of windows. It was heavily decorated and painted. With common side walls. Western townhouses had a long and narrow street, like a street that had like long and narrow. It was like pretty dusty, like plain. Barrels like everywhere. There were 2-story buildings. They would be founded in. You can find these in Western North America. Basically right here. Okay. What I like about them is that they have so much detail and color, and the row houses aren't that plain. They have like big front windows to see and view more of it. What I disliked about it's basically more of the old Western. It's just too plain. The houses are like really old. They have huge signs with like big fonts, like basically the same time. My next one is Ontario, 19th century American. This was founded in the 1770s. First built in California. The Monterey was a walking path to a historic park. Basically, you can see right here. Characteristics: they had symmetrical facade, 2-story verandas, wood framing, adobe walls, and had covered entries. This was basically founded in California. You can see. Okay, my favorite is that these big stained windows, covered entry doors, and slanted roofs. Least favorite were kind of small, not that big. Some of them just don't have these big windows to see out. That's it.
Let's see. Questions?